Chiamaka thought the lies were over. She thought love had finally brought her peace. But inside the marble mansion she now called home. Someone was watching, someone who didn't want her there. And just as her belly began to grow with new life, a voice from her past returned, one that once destroyed her spirit. Her father. In the mansion atop Banana Island, where air smelled of jasmine and success, Chiamaka stood by the window. Her hand rested on her growing belly as she watched the morning sun paint the sky gold. It had been 6 months since she discovered the truth, that Adebayo, the man she thought was a poor security guard, was actually a billionaire testing her love. 6 beautiful months of peace, of building their dream, of preparing for their baby. At 32 weeks pregnant, Chiamaka glowed. Her skin was smooth and bright, her eyes sparkled with joy, and her heart was full. She had everything: a husband who adored her, a career as a doctor, a mansion that looked like something from a movie, and soon a baby. "Good morning, my queen," Adebayo's voice came from behind her. He wrapped his arms around her, his hands gently touching her belly. Chiamaka smiled and leaned back against his chest. "Morning, my love. The baby was kicking all night." Adebayo chuckled. "That's my champion, already training to be great." He kissed her neck softly. "What would you like for breakfast? I can make your favorite pancakes." Chiamaka turned to face him, her eyes full of love. "I've been craving Mom's special jollof rice since yesterday." Adebayo raised an eyebrow. "At 7 a.m. Jollof rice?" Chiamaka nodded, rubbing her belly. "Your son wants jollof rice, not me." "So now he's my son when he wants something strange, huh?" Adebayo laughed. They walked hand in hand to the kitchen. Their home was large but warm. Pictures of them hung on the walls. Their wedding day, Chiamaka's graduation, their baby shower last month. Everything was perfect. While Adebayo was preparing breakfast, Chiamaka's phone rang. She picked it up without checking who was calling. "Hello?" There was silence for a moment, then a deep voice spoke. "Chiamaka, my daughter." Chiamaka froze. It was her father, Mr. Ikenna. She hadn't heard his voice in months, not since she'd refused to take in her stepsister. "What do you want?" Her voice was cold now. Adebayo looked up quickly, concern in his eyes. "My daughter, please. We need your help," Mr. Ikenna said, his voice breaking. "Your stepmother is very sick. We've been to many hospitals, but they all need money we don't have." Chiamaka's heart raced. The woman who had treated her like a slave was now sick and needed her help. "How much do you need?" Chiamaka asked flatly. 5 million naira for the surgery," her father replied quickly. "But that's not all. We've lost the house. The bank took it last week. We have nowhere to go." Chiamaka closed her eyes. Memories flooded back. The beatings, the hunger, the insults, the day her father gave her away like she was nothing. "I'll call you back," she said, and hung up. Adebayo was already by her side. What happened? Who was that? Chiamaka looked up at him, tears filling her eyes. "My father. My stepmother is sick, and they've lost their house." Adebayo's face darkened. "And now they remember they have a daughter." Chiamaka nodded slowly. "They need 5 million naira for her surgery." Adebayo scoffed. "After everything they did to you? After how they treated you like nothing?" Chiamaka walked to the window again, her mind racing. "I know, Adebayo, but what, Chiamaka? Don't tell me you're thinking of helping them." Chiamaka turned to face him. "They're still family, Adebayo, no matter what they did." Adebayo shook his head in disbelief. "Family? Did they act like family when they made you sleep hungry? When they gave you away like you were nothing?" Chiamaka's tears fell freely now. "I'm not doing it for them, Adebayo. I'm doing it for me, for our child. I don't want to carry hate in my heart." Adebayo walked to her slowly and held her hands. "Chiamaka, listen to me. Your heart is too pure. These people will take advantage of you again." "Then what should I do?" Chiamaka asked. "Let her die? Let them suffer on the streets?" Adebayo sighed. "I'm afraid they'll hurt you again." Chiamaka touched his face gently. "You can't hurt someone who's no longer broken, my love." That evening, after much discussion, Chiamaka and Adebayo decided to help, but with rules. They would pay for Mrs. Folome's surgery, but wouldn't just hand over money. They'd pay the hospital directly. As for the housing problem, Adebayo suggested they could stay temporarily in one of his smaller properties until they found their feet again. Chiamaka made the call to her father. "We'll help with the medical bills. My husband will transfer the money directly to the hospital. Send the details." "Thank you, my daughter. God will bless you." "And about the house?" Chiamaka cut him off. "We have a small apartment in Victoria Island. You can stay there for 3 months while you sort yourselves out." 3 months? Her father sounded disappointed. "But that's not enough time to—" "It's what we're offering," Chiamaka said firmly. "Take it or leave it." The following week, Mrs. Folome's surgery was scheduled. Chiamaka, despite being heavily pregnant, insisted on going to the hospital. She wanted to see for herself. When they arrived at the hospital, Chiamaka's heart pounded. It had been years since she'd seen her stepmother, the woman who had made her childhood a living hell. Mrs. Folome lay in the hospital bed, looking much older and smaller than Chiamaka remembered. Her once scary face now looked weak and tired. When Mrs. Folome saw Chiamaka enter the room, her eyes widened. She tried to sit up but was too weak. "Chiamaka," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Chiamaka stood by the bed, her hand protectively on her belly. Adebayo stayed close behind her, watching carefully. "You came," Mrs. Folome said, tears forming in her eyes. Chiamaka nodded. "Yes, I came." Mrs. Folome looked at Chiamaka's pregnant belly, then back at her face. "You look beautiful, like a queen." Chiamaka didn't smile. "The doctors say the surgery will be tomorrow. We've paid for everything." Mrs. Folome's tears fell now. "Why? After everything I did to you? Why would you help me?" Chiamaka's face remained calm. "Because I'm not like you." Those 5 words hung in the air like thunder. Mrs. Folome closed her eyes, letting more tears fall. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was wicked to you." Chiamaka hadn't expected an apology. It caught her off guard. "Why?" Chiamaka asked, the question she'd carried for years finally coming out. "Why did you hate me so much?" Mrs. Folome opened her eyes slowly. "Because you reminded me of your mother. Your father loved her so much. He never looked at me the way he looked at her." Chiamaka's chest tightened. "So you punished me for that?" Mrs. Folome shook her head weakly. "I was wrong, so wrong." Just then the door opened and Chiamaka's father walked in with Chidi, Chiamaka's half-brother, who was now a teenager. Mr. Ikenna froze when he saw Chiamaka. She looked different from the last time he'd seen her, confident, glowing, successful. "Chiamaka," he said, his voice shaking. Chiamaka looked at him without emotion. This man who had given her away stood before her now, hat in hand, needing her help. "The surgery is tomorrow," Chiamaka said. "After that you can move into the apartment. The address and keys are with my assistant outside." "Thank you," Mr. Ikenna said, looking down. "We are grateful." Chiamaka turned to leave, but Chidi called out, "Sister Chiamaka." Chiamaka stopped and looked at the boy. Chidi had been just a child when she left, the only one who had waved goodbye as she walked away with Adebayo. "You remember me?" Chidi asked, his eyes hopeful. Chiamaka's face softened. "Of course, Chidi." Chidi looked at her belly and smiled. "I'm going to be an uncle." Despite everything, Chiamaka smiled at the boy's innocence. "Yes, you are." As they left the hospital, Adebayo was quiet. In the car, he finally spoke. "Are you okay?" Chiamaka nodded. "Yes, strange, but I feel lighter." Adebayo took her hand. "They didn't deserve your kindness." Chiamaka looked out the window. "Maybe not. But this isn't about what they deserve. It's about who I choose to be." The surgery was successful, and as promised, Chiamaka's family moved into the apartment in Victoria Island. Chiamaka made it clear, this was temporary help, not an invitation back into her life. 3 weeks later, Chiamaka was reviewing some patient files in her home office when the security guard called. "Madam, your father is at the gate. He says it's urgent." Chiamaka sighed. She hadn't expected to see him so soon. "Let him in." Mr. Ikenna sat nervously in the grand living room. When Chiamaka entered, he stood up quickly. "My daughter, thank you for seeing me." Chiamaka sat down across from him. "What's so urgent?" Mr. Ikenna cleared his throat. "It's about Chidi. He's been offered admission to a good secondary school, but the fees..." Chiamaka's face hardened. "So you've come for more money?" "Not just that," he said quickly. "Chidi has been asking about you. He wants to know his sister." Chiamaka was surprised. "Chidi wants to know me?" Mr. Ikenna nodded. "He's different, Chiamaka. Not like me, not like his mother. He has a good heart." Chiamaka thought for a moment. Chidi was innocent in all this. He hadn't chosen his parents. "Bring him here on Saturday," she said finally. "We can talk then about his school." When Mr. Ikenna left, Adebayo found Chiamaka in their bedroom, sitting quietly on the edge of the bed. "What did he want?" Adebayo asked, sitting beside her. "Money for Chidi's school fees. And apparently, Chidi wants to know me." Adebayo frowned. "Chiamaka, they're using the boy to get to you." Chiamaka shook her head. "Maybe. But I remember Chidi. He was always kind, even as a small child. He was the only one who cried when I left." Adebayo took her hand. "Just be careful, my love. I don't want you getting hurt." Chiamaka squeezed his hand. "I know. But I also believe in second chances." Saturday came, and Chidi arrived alone. At 15, he was tall and slender, with kind eyes that reminded Chiamaka of her own mother. They sat in the garden, surrounded by flowers and the sound of the fountain. "This place is beautiful," Chidi said, looking around in awe. Chiamaka smiled. "Thank you." There was an awkward silence, then Chidi spoke. "I've missed you, sister. I used to ask about you all the time, but no one would tell me anything." Chiamaka was surprised. "You did?" Chidi nodded. "You were always nice to me, even when everyone was mean to you. You used to sneak food to me when Mum wasn't looking." Chiamaka's eyes watered at the memory. She had tried to protect the little boy whenever she could. "I'm sorry I couldn't do more," she said softly. Chidi shook his head. "You did enough. You showed me kindness when no one else did." They talked for hours about Chidi's school, his dreams of becoming an engineer, his life in the village before they lost their home. "Father has changed," Chidi said suddenly, "after you left, after he saw what you've become. He drinks less now. He regrets what he did." Chiamaka didn't respond. It was hard to believe her father had changed after all these years. "And Mom," Chidi continued, "the sickness humbled her. She cries sometimes when she thinks no one is watching." Chiamaka looked at the young boy, so observant, so honest. "Chidi, would you like to visit more often?" she asked finally. Chidi's face lit up. "Really? I can come back?" Chiamaka nodded. "Yes, and about your school fees, I'll take care of them." Chidi's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sister. I promise I'll make you proud." That night, as Chiamaka and Adebayo lay in bed, she told him about her day with Chide. "He's a good boy, Adebayo. Different from his parents." Adebayo stroked her hair. "I trust your judgment, my love. If you say he's good, then he is." Chiamaka placed Adebayo's hand on her belly. "Our baby will need family, Adebayo. Not just us, but others too. I want our child to know love from many places." Adebayo nodded slowly. "But what about your father and stepmother? Do you want them in our child's life too?" Chiamaka was quiet for a moment. "I don't know yet, but with Chidi, I'm sure." The next few weeks were busy. Chiamaka was preparing for the baby, finishing up work at the hospital before her maternity leave, and checking on Chidi's school arrangements. One evening, as she was reviewing some documents, her phone rang. It was her father again. "Chiamaka, your stepmother wants to see you. She's not doing well," he said, his voice urgent. Chiamaka frowned. "What do you mean?" "The doctors said the surgery was successful." "It was, but there are problems now. Please, she's asking for you." Chiamaka looked at Adebayo, who had heard the conversation. He shook his head slightly, suspicious. "I'll come tomorrow," Chiamaka said, and hung up. Adebayo was worried. "Chiamaka, you're 8 months pregnant. You shouldn't be stressing yourself with these people." Chiamaka touched his face gently. "I know you're concerned, my love, but I need to do this. For me. The next day, Adebayo insisted on driving Chiamaka to the apartment. When they arrived, Mr. Ikenna was waiting outside. "She's inside," he said, leading them in. Mrs. Follow-Me was lying on the couch, looking pale but not as sick as Chiamaka had expected. Adebayo's suspicion grew. "What exactly is wrong with her?" he asked directly. "The doctors say there's a problem with her heart now," Mr. Ikenna replied. "She needs another surgery." Chiamaka looked around the apartment. It was in good condition, but she noticed several new items: a large television, new furniture, expensive curtains. "You've been busy shopping," she remarked coldly. Mr. Ikenna looked uncomfortable. "These are small comforts, my daughter. Your stepmother needed them to recover." Chiamaka walked closer to Mrs. Follow-Me. "Is it true? Do you need another surgery?" Mrs. Follow-Me looked away. "The doctors say my heart is weak." Adebayo stepped forward. "Which hospital? Which doctor? We'll go there now and speak with them." Mr. Ikenna stuttered. "Well, we haven't..." Adebayo's face hardened. "You haven't been to any doctor, have you?" The truth dawned on Chiamaka. They were lying, trying to get more money from her. The disappointment was overwhelming. "Let's go, Adebayo," she said quietly, turning to leave. "Wait, Chiamaka, please," her father called out. "We need help. The 3 months are almost up." "Where will we go?" Chiamaka stopped and turned slowly. "You haven't changed at all, have you? Still trying to use people? Still lying? Still looking for easy money?" Mrs. Follow-Me sat up now, dropping the sick act. "You think you're better than us now? With your rich husband and big house? Don't forget where you came from, girl." Chiamaka laughed bitterly. "Oh, I will never forget where I came from, or what you did to me." She walked closer to them, her voice calm but firm. "You have 2 weeks left in the apartment. After that, you're on your own." "But where will we go?" her father asked desperately. Chiamaka shrugged. "The same place you expected me to go when you gave me away like a bag of yam." As they walked out, Chiamaka felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. She gasped and held on to Adebayo. "Chiamaka, what's wrong?" Adebayo asked, alarmed. "The baby," she whispered, clutching her belly. "Something's wrong." Adebayo lifted her quickly and rushed to the car. As they sped toward the hospital, Chiamaka's pain got worse. "Hold on, my love," Adebayo said, his voice tense. "We're almost there." At the hospital, doctors rushed Chiamaka into the emergency room. She was having contractions. The baby was coming early. "It's the stress," the doctor told Adebayo. "We need to perform an emergency C-section." Adebayo paced outside the operating room, praying harder than he'd ever prayed before. "God, please protect them both. They're my world." After what felt like forever, the doctor came out. "Congratulations, Mr. Adebayo. You have a healthy baby boy." Adebayo's eyes filled with tears. "And my wife?" The doctor smiled. "She's fine. Tired, but fine." Adebayo rushed to Chiamaka's side. She looked exhausted but beautiful, holding their tiny son in her arms. "Look what we made," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Adebayo touched the baby's small hand, overwhelmed with emotion. "He's perfect, just like his mother." They named him Kwame Jr., after Chiamaka's grandfather, a strong name for a fighter who had come into the world earlier than expected. The next few days were a blur of joy and exhaustion. Chiamaka and baby Kwame Jr. were doing well, and Adebayo never left their side. On the 3rd day, as Chiamaka was feeding Kwame Jr., there was a knock on the hospital room door. It was Chidi. "Sister Chiamaka," he said softly, his eyes wide at the sight of the baby. "I heard what happened." Chiamaka smiled. "Come meet your nephew, Chidi." Chidi approached cautiously, a small gift in his hands. "I bought this with my own money," he said proudly, placing a tiny teddy bear beside Chiamaka. "It's beautiful, Chidi. Thank you." Chidi looked around nervously. "Father and mother don't know I'm here, but I wanted to see you and the baby." Chiamaka's heart warmed. "You're always welcome in our home, Chidi." "Always." Adebayo, who had been watching from the corner, stepped forward. "Chidi, would you like to hold Kwame Jr.?" Chidi's face lit up. "Can I?" Adebayo carefully placed the baby in Chidi's arms, showing him how to support the head. Chidi looked down at the tiny face in awe. "Hello, Kwame Jr. I'm your Uncle Chidi." Chiamaka watched them, a new resolve forming in her heart. She would keep Chidi close, protect him, give him opportunities. As for her father and stepmother, she would help them from a distance, pay for a small place for them to live, ensure they had food and basic necessities. But she would maintain firm boundaries. 2 weeks later, Chiamaka and Adebayo brought Kwame Jr. home. Their mansion was filled with joy, with visitors coming to congratulate them and see the baby. One afternoon, as Chiamaka was resting in the nursery, watching Kwame Jr. sleep, Adebayo came in with a serious face. "Your father is at the gate," he said. "He's alone." Chiamaka sighed. "What does he want now?" Adebayo sat beside her. "Do you want me to send him away?" Chiamaka thought for a moment, then shook her head. "Number, let him in. It's time we settled this once and for all." Mr. Ikenna entered the nursery cautiously. When he saw the baby, his eyes softened. "My grandson," he whispered. Chiamaka stood up. "Why are you here?" Mr. Ikenna looked older than his years, defeated. "Chiamaka, I came to apologize. Truly apologize." Chiamaka crossed her arms. "For what exactly?" "For everything," he said, his voice breaking. "For how I treated you after your mother died, for giving you away, for trying to use you now." Chiamaka was doubtful. "Why should I believe you? You've lied before." Mr. Ikenna nodded sadly. "I know. I've been a terrible father, but seeing you now, seeing what you've become despite me, not because of me, it's made me realize how wrong I was." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. It was Chiamaka's mother, Amara, smiling, with a young Chiamaka in her arms. "I kept this all these years," he said, handing it to Chiamaka. "Even when I was at my worst, I couldn't throw it away." Chiamaka took the photo, her hands shaking. She hadn't seen her mother's face in years. "You used to look just like her," Mr. Ikenna continued. "Maybe that's why it hurt so much to see you every day after she was gone. But that's no excuse for what I did." Chiamaka looked at the photo, then at her father. "What do you want from me now?" Mr. Ikenna looked down. "Nothing. We've found a small place to rent in Surulere. Mrs. Folomi's brother is helping us. I got a job as a night watchman." Chiamaka was surprised. "You're not asking for money?" He shook his head. "Number, I just wanted to see my grandson once, and to tell you I'm sorry, even though I know words are not enough." Chiamaka walked to the crib where Kwame Jr. slept peacefully. After a moment, she motioned for her father to come closer. "This is Kwame Jr., she said quietly. Mr. Ikenna looked at the sleeping baby, tears in his eyes. "He's beautiful." They stood in silence, 3 generations in one room. Finally, Chiamaka spoke. "I won't invite you into my life, not now, maybe not ever. But for Kwame Jr., Esake, and for Chidi's, I won't shut the door completely." "What does that mean?" her father asked. "It means you can see Kwame Jr. sometimes, with us watching. It means I'll continue to help Chidi with his education. It means I won't leave you on the streets." Mr. Ikenna nodded, wiping his tears. "Thank you, it's more than I deserve." As he turned to leave, Chiamaka called out, "And father?" He stopped. "Yes?" "If you ever lie to me again, if you ever try to use me or my family, that's it. No more chances." He nodded solemnly. "I understand." After he left, Adebayo held Chiamaka close. "Are you okay?" Chiamaka looked at the photograph of her mother, then at her sleeping son. "Yes," she said softly. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm truly free. Free from the past, free from hate, free from pain." Adebayo kissed her forehead. "You've broken the cycle, Chiamaka. Your son will never know the pain you knew." Chiamaka smiled through her tears. "Our son will know only love, and he'll learn that true strength comes not from wealth or power, but from kindness and forgiveness." As the sun set over their home, casting golden light through the nursery window, Chiamaka felt complete. The journey from the dusty village of Umuoma to this moment had been long and painful, but necessary. She had gone from being the girl no one wanted to the woman who had everything: love, success, family, and most importantly, peace. "Thank you, God," she whispered, looking at her husband and child. "Thank you for turning my pain into purpose, my tears into triumph." And somewhere she felt her mother Amara smiling down on her, proud of the queen she had become. "The baby's heartbeat is dropping," the doctor shouted as Chiamaka's vision blurred. Blood soaked through the hospital sheets. Adebayo gripped her hand, crying out, "Please God, don't take my family away." Then came the flatline. Nurses screamed. Doctors moved fast. Adebayo stood frozen in fear as the monitors fell silent. "We're losing them both." And just like that, everything went black. Will Chiamaka and her baby survive? Find out in part 3. This next chapter will break your heart and heal it in the same breath. What do you think will happen next? Drop your predictions in the comments. We'll be reading every single one. If this story touched your heart, give it a thumbs up, share with someone who needs hope, and make sure you're subscribed. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss the moment everything changes in part 3.